Hello everyone, this is Cookies. I've got turn 18 of Lucid's tournament, game 2, and we've got a fair number of battles, but I think it's a slowly decreasing number of battles, as some of these wars have their rating games decided. So, here we go. We've got a number of battles here. First one is in Ionia. So we've got a number of Raven Guard. Alright, so 3 Raven Guard are down. In Triton C, we've got a whole bunch of Ichthids fighting Ichthids. Interesting that the warriors are fighting the normal versions on each side. Alright. Caleb ends up winning that. Takes a fair amount of attrition, but that's how that stuff works. You use a mirror troop to kill itself. Alright, we've got TNG raiding Sitis Underground, doing a little bit of vulturing. And I think we mentioned before that there could be some, like a bump here. Alright, so this is a downside of having archers and whatnot just on fire, is if something does come into melee with them, the rest of the unit doesn't react to go into melee. So you end up with a lot of isolated XV1 fights. So it can definitely be bad for a squad. So loses all 11 Zots, loses 3 Barbed Heavy Horsemen, and as a result, probably gonna lose this to Atlantis. Alright. So, loses 1 Ice Guard, takes the province, though. Then we've got Sitis and Marignon. Sitis continuing their offensive, I guess, by pinging. Finds what looks like a pretty hefty PD dump. It looks like a group of Ichthids and a little bit of a PD dump. No, it's all PD. Dang. Like, what was that? Like 33 PD to get that many national troops. Okay. And then, all right. So we just saw Sitis ping, and now we've got Agartha attacking Pyrene. Okay. Yeah, Pyrene's had about enough of Agartha's shit, because they're bringing the house. And start locking everyone in place. And I think that was the Cave Lord that got away. Nope, not the Drake Lord. Everyone died. Alright. So, finds all 54 Cambion Knights, I'm pretty sure. And then we've got Atlantis attacking Midland. So this is bogus. I am worried. It looks like he's got 2 squads. It is possible for one of these squads or both to rout on the Dark Knight. Also, it'd be nice to see a few more commanders. So the Dark Knight has a Fear 15 effect, which means it goes out into the second rank of squares. So maybe I can show that. Although these guys have pretty good morale. Yeah, so this guy's got the magic bonus, which is how fear shows up. And then this guy's also got a magic bonus, and he's 2 squares out. So even I've had a number of cases where I've had a big block of troops, they've killed the Dark Knight, but he applied so much fear that they ended up routing right after they killed him. I mean, Ice Guard do have amazing morale, though. But you can see the number of troops fleeing. Alright, so they killed him, but the whole army routed, so they're going to have to do it again. And then next time should be a lot easier, because it's just, like, despite the gear that Bogus has, he's not particularly crazy. And then the mages aren't too much to deal with. It's not like they're casting really high-end spells. But that doesn't mean it's a shame, because the Dark Knight has some of the best equipment, in my opinion, in this group. Although, because he's got the storm armor, he's got the fear hat. Whereas, you know, I mean, there's still some really nice gear. You've got the race sword, you've got the rune smasher, rainbow armor, precious. Ice bubble staff is pretty nice. But, and then this guy can't even pick up gear, really. He's holding too much. So, would be good if he gives it another go to try and raise another round of commanders. You know, really try to loot this rather than view it as an annoyance. Alright. So yeah, it has 4 troops killed, but the whole group routes. Alright. And then we've got Gartha. This army that he's been rolling around. Looks like it's found another throne, though. Just an enchanted spear in terms of potential loot. A little bit of an archery duel. Alright, and then as a reminder, never mind, they are unblessed blind fighters. Alright. Then we've got, against Patala, we've got a special monster attack. Looks like a barb attack. It is a lot of PD though. And it is barbarian PD. So the monkey's having none of it. Sitis attacking King's Tomb Desert. This is their big army. And Marignon rolls out the red carpet for them. This is a lot of Royal Guard, a lot of swordsmen with their great swords. So 24 damage, 13 attack, 11 attack, 21 damage. Okay. And then we've got a couple of mages doing, looks like some imp spam back here. I'm assuming these are mercenary cavalry. And then they're combined with a little bit of city guard out there to take the brunt of the attack. In particular, the poison. No, the imps are really nice here because they're going to dive in and distract the Sitis troops. So they provide sort of a second line of defense before all these Royal Guard and swordsmen start getting in there in terms of the poison slingers. Although they've got 12 ammunition, they've probably got enough ammo for 3 waves of stuff. Looks like they've routed them, though. Poison clouds should start clearing up a little bit. All right. And there we go. Using a traditional weakness of Sitis, although they're a lot better about it in late age with some of the new units, which is the ranged attacks. So Marignon loses 30 swordsmen, 8 royal guard, 9 crossbows in exchange for 214 of Sitis's troops, including 2 empoisoners, 20 poison slingers, all 12 tomb chariots. So this is, I think, the KO on the Sitis army. And then Patala sallies or pings. Sallies, okay. So this is what I was wondering about, where maybe he meant to defend with the PD last turn, or maybe he was worried the PD might HP route him. But we've got a Sally attempt here, a bunch of Naga warriors. On the flanks, we've got Bandar warriors. They're very high damage iron cudgels. Over with TNG, we've got the horses arrayed in a box around the crossbows. So we'll see how that works out. Champion's Medal, pretty fun. Makes him yeah, +3. And now with Inspirational +2 makes him a phenomenal general. Oh, and then we've got the War Shamblers. Now, I probably would have had the War Shamblers out in front, because even if they die, they've still got Coral Glaives, and they've still got a Coral Cuirass. So what that means is when enemies attack them or get hit by them, they're going to get a little bit of poison damage, which isn't necessarily super strong against Naga, who have poison resist, but could be pretty strong against Bandar. So if you had them out in a line, out in front, now he might be viewing this as his siege strength, because, you know, it's a lot of siege strength here at 2.3 per. But his own cavalry also provide a lot of siege strength. So it's just kind of split over. So you got 1, and then you've got 2. So his own horsemen actually provide more. So if you're gonna sacrifice anyone, I guess it would be the crossbows. Or you take a really clean charge with the cavalry, several maybe like divisions of them, and you've got the shamblers following them behind, but it just kind of looks like some blocks right now to me. So I'm curious how intentional that was. Or if he plans on just staying on fire and letting Patala come to him. What we do not see here is the cat, so which I think is a little greedy and does make me a bit concerned. So again, the cat comes in with those 3 magic attacks. It can, you know, you've got hypnotized to deal with the cat, but the cat can also kill a lot of this stuff pretty quickly. Although it looks like Patala's equipped all of his Nagarajas with thug gear. So they've all got a GSS at least. He's gotten hats out to some of them, and he's even got a couple of them, 2 of them with body armor. Looks like this one with extraordinary agility, and this one with heroic toughness. So he's prioritized his heroes, which I really like to see. So I've really enjoyed this conflict. It's 2 highly motivated players. They've each had their wins. They've each had their failures, and it's been just a very entertaining war to me. So let's see how this goes. Thugs are out in front leading the charge. They've also got up near 27, 28 protection. And what that means is they're pretty much invulnerable to the composite bows. So a lot of these horse archers are wasting their ammo on them. And then the crossbows themselves are armor piercing, so they'd go up to 22 protection. But he's got a little bit of padding there. So they can be killed by crossbows, but it might take a little bit longer than some of his other units. Oh, we got more Nagarajas. So these are the ones without gear following it up behind. Oh my goodness. Alright. Here come the War Shamblers. Their Coral Glaives at 27 damage can absolutely punch through. They've got 11 attack though. So if Patala fills in the line, then they'll be good to go. And this is that same problem that I was talking about earlier with when you have an optional unit like this, but you've got them with like an indie script where they're just on fire because you're trying to take advantage of the composite bow. What you're doing is you're choosing the composite bow in some ways over the lance and falchion, because if they charged in, you would get all of this, but they've also got mobile archers, so they'll shoot as they close in. So this 9 precision will be a little bit better, but you're prioritizing this and having them fight rather than prioritizing the composite bow that's going to have a harder time hurting a lot of these troops. And so now they're in melee, and you're ending up with somewhat favorable fights for the Naga rather than them getting surrounded by all these cavalry, at least until they run out of ammunition. And they've got 12 ammunition, so more than normal. Interesting that he chose to use the poison spit. So now that the composite bows are running out of ammunition, you're seeing the surrounds happen. And so Patala's lost that window to really get in there and melee these guys and maybe have small surrounds on the cavalry easier. Although it doesn't seem like they have a lot of poison spits. Yeah, just 5, so at least they should start filtering in soon. That was a petrify effect killing this guy. And that's from Word of Stone. So that's his smite. And he wins the straight up fight. Now, there's reasonable odds if he had the cat here that it would have died, but I think there's also reasonable odds that the cat would have won the battle. So, at some point you gotta risk it for the biscuit. Alright. So, Patala is victorious, frees his capital, loses 3 of the Nagarachas. Kills the War Shamblers, kills 54 Barb Heavy Horsemen. And this, with the other screenshot, is the type of thing that you send to Tianqi's neighbors. And tell them, hey, you know what? Tianqi's open for vulturing. So we'll take a look at that potential aspect soon. 13 of the Naga warriors died. Completely reasonable to pay 13 of these 27 gold sacreds for 17 50 gold sacreds. Loses the 32 out of the 34 Bandar warriors. I mean, they tried, but they're not sacreds. Also killed an ancestor smith. The Khans all got away, which is good for Tianqi. All right, so that was a hefty battle. Big Patala win. And that war is going to continue dragging on now. We have a few indie attacks. First one on Kalem. Got a dog. And then Atlantis. Another dog. And then on man, I presume another dog? No, this one's a bear. Okay, a couple of lightning bolts inside the tavern. Then the Magister Arcane Defense. Okay, sorry. Wanted to get a drink of water there. So we get some more unrest. So this is why we're getting so many dog events. Okay. And then we have a fair number of battles. So we've got Tianchi. Okay. And then Agartha. Bunch of barbarians. In the nether, another dog attack. Bakamona PD actually defends. In Deep Gorge Cavern, another dog attack. Just two cavemen. Ooh. Just too many dogs for them. In Work Enum. Alright. Then in Pyrene. Then in Strongdale. Whole bunch of Ichthids. This is a really heavy indie attack. This is like a whole indie province's worth of stuff. There happen to be Ice Guard here, though, to defend. Doesn't lose any of them in Low Mark. Got a bunch of dogs. Should be able to defend here, I think. Unless they kill the commander. Alright. Alright, so let's take a look at the world. So in terms of the underground, where was it? We had a bump in Tunnels of the Lost between Atlantis and Tianchi over this Sitis province. We'll see if Atlantis respects this Tianchi hold, or if they decide to push through the other end of the cave. Alright, fortification is going up on the steel ovens now. And of the old empire. And what's nice about Agartha getting this is Agartha totally would build a fort underground. So it shouldn't be that suspicious. So that's pretty cool. Alright. We got Wild Forest. Alright. Gray Shade. Ooh, Gray Enchantress. And 3 death income. So that's 5. Alright. And it's a cave forest. This is like kind of like finding like a depopulated capital. You get 20,000 population, you get 6 gems, and you get a unique mage. This is absolutely worth forwarding. Right now, man's gonna content himself with just putting up a lab and doing the slow to recruit portion of the mage. Very interesting, though. I am curious. Has glamour. Okay. It's been a while since I played Naban, I did all that testing. I forget if the glamour mage is just viewable or if it's hidden. All right. So let's go ahead and take a look at Patala, because Patala just freed their capital. And not only did they free their capital, but they're actively promoting their cap defense in the game chat. So they might get some aid as well, or some trades. Not only that, but they hit that level of construction where they could start doing stuff like GSSs. Makes them a lot more dangerous to TNG's Awake Pretender. So all of this is related to like timings and so for instance, if TNG had been able to keep the capital locked down the first time, you wouldn't have so many Nagaraja. He would have been able to isolate and kill a lot of these troops because there wouldn't have been a garrison. So all sorts of the kind of like small decisions. So Patala very intently, it seems like now, allowed the PD to get wiped to maybe finish some construction, maybe a little bit of research. I think mostly the construction, forged a lot of gear, and then came out for that sally. And here we have mostly siege chaff. So now it's on TNG. They've got to find an answer to these geared Nagaraja thugs. And where did the cat go? Well, he didn't raid any of the PD DOMs, which to me would have been the more acceptable reason to pull him from the army. Well, I probably would have pulled Barbarian Heavy Horse. Right. Yeah, where did he go? Did he die? Now I almost need to check. Good grief. Oh, this province rebelled again. Wait, what? I'm not seeing the cat anywhere. Huh. Did I miss it dying? Okay. Well, I'll try to find it later. But yeah, now TNG is going to have to try and rally again. And they're going to have to try to rally a force that can kill these Nagaraja thugs. So what options do they have? I think you're going to have to commit mages. We can't see his research because we don't have graphs, but it should be okay. He hasn't mobilized mages yet. But TNG has tons of... So within their roster, they've got smiths with a forge bonus. They got E2 for a path. So you can put weapons of sharpness on troops if you get that high. I think that's probably too far for this war, though. You got N2s. You could try to, like, Breath of the Dragon the thugs down. Although I think they have too much poison resist for that. You try some web spam. There's... Not sure how great that is. Try baby air elementals. A lot of them. But I think you got to look at the research that you've done and find something that can kill a GSS thug. And I mean, there's plenty of things that can kill in-army GSS thugs. And you got to mobilize that, and that probably involves magic, I think. Unless you just want to mobilize more of your own human thugs that have gear. because they, and you do some point buffs, because he was leading with his thugs, so you could have a little bit of like a champions duel before the armies meet. But yeah, I mean, this was another heavy blow to Tianqi. If Patala shares those two battle reports, say with Calum, who's just vulturing, they might start looking at Tianqi as food. Man and Pyrene are in a war, so they're not going to be available. But if you shared that with Atlantis as well, Atlantis might be interested in vulturing. So there are two potential neighbors that you could bring into this war where you could kind of reestablish yourself a bit. And I mean, you've already been vultured a bit by Atlantis, so Atlantis might be interested in vulturing the other way as well. And when you're in a small cap defense like this, your main goal isn't normally game state. It's just, how do I punish this person who's invading me? So yeah, we'll have to see if he manages to pull in one of these other powers, and if they decide to go after Tianqi, and then Tianqi would have to pull forces back to try and defend his capital, defend his forts, and that'll let you reestablish yourself a bit. And there's still some independence here. There's a chain of Indies in this cave system. If you retook some of this and maybe took a full border here and retook this fort, to be honest, you're still not really in a viable position because you've been invaded for so long and you've mobilized your mages. But it would at least be a little playable. You might have some fun with it because you'd have 3, 6, 9, 12. If you got through this whole cave, you'd have 15 provinces. Maybe you could think about building a second fort. So if your cap goes under siege, you don't lose all your income. Maybe you could look at a throne. So there's definitely some options there. But ideally, you're doing this through diplomacy. Is at this point, because you've got the victories, how you could turn these victories into staying in the game. So, all right. What is Atlantis up to? They're not building a fort here, which I think would be an interesting way to do it, but maybe they want to keep the forts a little bit closer to home where they can defend them easier. Atlantis isn't really known for their teleportation like Relay, where you can have islands. I mean, they do have some astral. So later in the game, you could do gateway shenanigans, but it's not their easiest forte. They're going to have to rally their Ice Guard and go after Midland again. I think that the next time they do, they will succeed. Oh, we have an assassination. Is this one we saw? Yeah, we saw this one. So, all right. So I think that's it for this column. If we go up here, so Marignon defended, accurately predicted, and defended in the King's Tomb Desert from Cetus. So, and also hid their Devil's Den in the process. The Virtue has come out of the cave, and now might be a good time to maybe think about having the Virtue kill one of these big PD dumps. I think Marignon only knows about the one on the bottom, though. So he'll have to consider that. But yeah, the army should be able to press forward into Bergamum. And then we'll see what Marignon does. But Marignon should absolutely be back on the offensive. And look at all these new troops that they're hiring. Going on a huge hiring spree. I wasn't expecting them to be able to pull together an army this big so quickly. So they've still got about 250 troops that they can use, including most of their Royal Guard. So the army is definitely capable of further combat. With the poison item, I think the Virtue could try to jump all this stuff, but it could also try to potentially knock out the cat PD. And yeah, we have a growing number of higher duels as he tries to survive long enough to bring back his dragon. But yeah, maybe the army could go here and the virtue could go on Satis. Satis still doesn't have a lot of candles. So you can still think about Dom killing them, but maybe that's not on Marignon's mind. It does look like kind of a low Dominion build. And maybe, maybe the Virtue can fight in 3 enemy candles. They're not going to know how many candles are here. But, I mean, this is not necessarily the scariest number of candles to fight in with your Pretender. Alright. And this Bloodhenge. I hope he starts recruiting those Bloodhenge mages soon. Or at least when he's ready to start doing blood hunting, which presumably might be after this Satis war is over. Okay. So, yep, Marignon back in the lead for this war. Satis still no mages, no research, they're pretty toast. It's just a matter of getting everything together to defeat the Scales troops in the big PD dumps. If he gets his dragon back, though, that could be a different story. And could make for a pretty nasty fort defense, because the dragon would come inside the fort, since Satis owns it. Right, we talked a little bit about Calum. They have some options. They've been aggressively vulturing, which I like. Although, you can definitely make future enemies doing stuff like that, but, I mean, if you're not going to fight a first war, you need to aggressively vulture. And, let's see. So yeah, we've got, vulturing this Pyrene province, which I would assume man wanted. And they killed the vulturing Agarthan troops, or at least some of them. So I think now man goes on the capital, maybe attempts it. He's got the boar, he's got near 400 troops apparently. I think you go ahead and go on the capital. It should be a strong enough push. Alright. And then for Agartha, we've got a barb event that we need to clean up. And this army seems about ready to go ahead and dive on Range of Faith. Oh, they built a second army. Okay, so it wasn't the original first one, but they took the Throne of Bureaucracy. So they're just taking all the thrones. And next on the list appears to be the Golden Throne. Down here is the Crystal Throne, and we've talked about their throne options a little bit. So in terms of a throne victory, it's 12 points to ascend, so you need 6 thrones. So if Agartha gets all 4 of their thrones and somehow got a perfect invasion of someone, without anyone else interfering, like let's say like this region of man, then they could win by taking these 2. In practice, it often works out that you need more wars than that. Or maybe some sort of throne rush. Alright, so I think that's it for this one. I think we've looked at everyone. Patala with a brilliant cap defense. TNC is going to have to figure out what to do about those Nagaraja thugs, especially the geared ones. Or TNC, I might have said Patala. And then we should see soon man's attempt to go on Pyrene's cap. And presumably Pyrene will try to defend the cap. And then the Sigarthan army, I guess, will go up to Range of Faith. I'm not sure if he'll deviate it to fight in Kafir. It is 350 gold a turn. I think it's worth deferring the army. But maybe you can view this as something you can vulture later. But if you take too long, somebody else will nab it, and you'll have to fight a war over it. So, but yeah, should get a few nice fights next turn, potentially. Maybe a Pyrene cap defense. Throne battle. And yeah, so all these wars still burning pretty hot. Looking forward to, although maybe Pyrene is on their way out. We had a big fight with Satis today as well. So yeah, a lot of entertainment. Hope you guys are enjoying, and I will see you guys in the next one. Bye.